Bijan Machen, welcome to Lingofest. Thank you very much for making the time to speak with me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Ahmed. I'm very grateful to be here and very excited to speak with you today.
Wonderful, wonderful. Um, all right, so the audience, as I was telling you before we started recording, is going to be wondering why I'm talking to somebody who's not in the voice bot world or in the human language technology world, right? And as I was telling you, one of the things I want to do with this podcast is to show, showcase, and illustrate to folks how important it is to break out of your bubble, right? That there are lots and lots of very interesting things going on out there, and that if one wants to create interesting innovations, one does it usually when one brings something from from a different world, right? So we all know about how Steve Jobs was able to innovate because he was not a computer science guy. He was really into meditation, into, I don't know, art and all that. And he was able to bring aesthetics into a world that was not concerned about it. And that's why you see the difference between stuff that's created by Microsoft, which doesn't have that aesthetic element, and then stuff that's created by by Apple. So I just want to make that basic point to the audience so that they know what we're chatting. All right, so and then the audience, again, you guys, you will see the value of this conversation as it unfolds. So Bijan, I'm going to start from probably a place you didn't expect me to start from, which is your volunteer work, right? So I see, and I put it here. You're a volunteer at Athletic. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that.
Well, with Athletech, I was actually a co-founder, but that's part of my community work. And I like to refer to it as just community work. Some people call it philanthropic work. Some people call it volunteering. Some people call it community service. Some people call it charity. To me, it's just working in the community, and doing the work that I'm called to do. And I feel like we all have a calling to serve our community in some capacity. So these are just the certain ways that I chose to serve. Athletech was one. Also created a give back group called We Feed DC, where people would come together to feed homeless people in DC. Ran for a number of years, and just like do clothing drives and giveaways and things like that. Whatever we can do to pool resources and good energy and share that with other people. I've tried to be an organizer and a leader of those types of activities and initiatives, and formalizing them in different ways so that we can create sustainability and consistency is really important to me. And that's actually what led me to create my own company, my own 501c3 organization called the We Uplift The World Foundation for Arts Education. And this is our logo that you see here, designed by Studio LXR. It's really a representation of the world and how connected that we are, and how no great thing happens with just one person's efforts alone. It has to happen. Anything great has to happen through collaboration, through connectivity, through people working together to do great things and having a mastermind, a collective vision. And that's really what We Uplift the World means. And I wanted to create something that would allow artists and creatives a safe space to learn and grow and work with each other to create more sustainable lives as creative entrepreneurs.
Wonderful. Yeah, we'll definitely do a deeper dive into your focus, so to speak. But let me ask you, I mean, volunteering and all that takes effort, right? It's not a given, right? It's not like, hey, I'm gonna go play a little bit. It takes effort, it's dedication. So why do you invest, or why do you do that? Why do you go out and volunteer? Because not a lot of people do that, unfortunately.
Well, really, I just love helping people. It actually makes me feel good and gives me a lot of fulfillment. And I learned at a very young age that doing things for fulfillment, living in our purpose, and serving others does not always necessarily have to be connected to money. And the things that that we can do with money don't always necessarily have to be connected to our fulfillment. So there's a separation of the two things. And I just really have learned to give and love to give. Now, I think it's important to develop sustainable ways of doing that. And that's kind of what led me to build a company. But, I grew up in the church. My grandmother and mother are pastors of Maranatha Deliverance Tabernacle in Ohio. And my stepfather as well, they lead the church there, Thomas Jefferson and Bridget Jefferson. And it's really part of who I am to do as much as I can to help other people with whatever gifts that I have. Now, the ways that I serve are different than my parents and my siblings and other people in the world because we're all unique.
Mhm.
But my main thing is really getting people to believe and understand that we all have something special to offer to the world. And we get to choose what we want that to be. That's why I wear this star on my hat, Ahmed, because I want to remind everybody that you are a superstar. And you just have to decide what it is that you want to be a superstar at and shine your light on the world with. And you can be that. So, it started with family and just loving people, wanting to do things more for more
Mhm.
on a bigger scale.
Yeah.
And it's been consistent since I was a young person. So I think it's important because we all need help sometimes. I've had a lot of people help me in my life and do things for me that they didn't have to do. But I see the impact that it made, and it got me through in a way that, I really needed. And I believe in God. I'm a believer in angels and blessings. I'm very spiritual, and I follow the divine and follow my intuition. And it led me to be a giver. And it always proves returns because again, we help each other. We uplift the world. It's not just
Yep.
me. And so many people have helped me. It's my responsibility to help others as much as I can. So
Yep. Absolutely. Wonderful. Well, let me ask you this. Definitely, I agree with you that every single person has something unique to offer, right? And that one of the tragedies of that we live with is how much how much is left on the table, so to speak, in terms of what folks can give, and for some reason they're not giving, not able to give. So that for me, I'll just give you my feedback in terms of my reaction to what you say. For me, when I see somebody like you, who is going out of their way to do things, and not that it is a burden, and there's a lot of satisfaction in doing that. Not only are the things that you do delivering good, but also the example itself, right? That people see that, hey, I could be like this person who is helping others, right? And so it creates this feedback loop, which is a virtuous, I would say, cycle. But one of the problems that we face, and that's something that I'm always thinking about, is uh, it's hard sometimes for somebody, for example, who has a job that they don't like, but they have to go to that job, and they are pressed to um, make enough money to put food on the table, and they're worried about their kids not having health insurance. And they're just beset by a continuous barrage of worry, 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 and so that they're not in the mood. It doesn't even occur to them. It's not their fault to do the things that they really want. And that's probably one of the reasons why we have a lot of people who are unhappy, is because there's something in them, which I think you alluded to, which is in all of us, and that is we feel happy when we give, right? We feel happy when we're creative. We feel happy when we are able to be expressive, when we're able to express ourselves. But when you're hemmed in and day out, which is the condition of good number of folks, maybe the majority of folks out there, hemmed in by worry, you're never in that mood to give. And so one of the things I'm always advocating is, how do we go beyond simply advocating? How do we go, which is what you do, right? You advocate, but you also feed people who are hungry, so that maybe they will be able to, okay, feel that, hey, there is a safety net. There are people who care, and so their heart opens up and so forth. Anyway, I just wanted to put that on the table, as far as, you know, why we don't have as many people doing all the good things that they could be doing is because it's not their fault, right? It's the fact that they are living in conditions that are really demoralizing, and one of the things that we need to do is to be an example like you are. Anyway, this is
I
one of my
appreciate
favorite
it.
topics. Anyway, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for just saying what you said and acknowledging that it's essential and key for us to reach a point in life where we see the bigger picture and see that the more we give, the more we actually receive. And something about what we're talking about is the exposure. Something you mentioned is that people may or may not have been exposed to this type of kindness or treatment, or they may not have the resources to think about giving
Yeah.
because the
Mm.
circumstances are so dire. So what can we do, right? I think we can expose people to the good that we have to offer as much as we can around us, and that's what I choose to exude as an artist. And I know it's not popular, especially in the fine art world, but I chose to make my art about the subject matter of abundance and positivity and light. And I paint music. I'm a musician and a painter, and I put music into my visual art.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
my sounds that I make, my abstract music, it feels like abstract paintings. And what I aim to do through that is bring more of this love, bring more exposure through the We Uplift the World Foundation, taking students on field trips to museums and exposing them to artwork
Yep.
and things that they may have never been exposed to otherwise. Uh,
Yeah.
it's hugely important because it's going to change the decisions that they make for the rest of their lives. Something that we really focus on is getting young kids paid for their creative work, for editing videos, for
Mhm.
their art. We're now teaching NFTs and things. But when you have been empowered at a young age with cash in your hand from something that you created with your own hands, and you're told that this can be a sustainable way of life, your mindset shifts and you're going to make different decisions throughout life.
Yeah.
And I've had different influences that have caused me to do that. And, the influences that caused me to give, but without that exposure, where would we be? So we have to continue to expose people to the good we want to see in the world.
Yeah. Wonderful. Wonderful. Okay. Well, you just touched on something that is probably really interesting to the audience specifically, and which is you said that you convert, or you have a way of expressing your music through visual. Tell me more about that.
Absolutely. Well, it's actually a condition that I've learned about called synesthesia. For me, it was just how my brain worked. So I noticed this ability to see sounds and hear colors and kind of feel light and sound and waves.
Mhm.
And it's something that we all kind of do, but I feel like I can do it in a way that's maybe like reverse of other people. We all have senses, but it's like sometimes my senses cross or mix, and it's very interesting. But I think this condition of synesthesia developed through my youth playing football, because I grew up as a football player. Played linebacker up into college. I went to Georgia Tech and won an ACC championship there with them. Had some of the best moments of my life playing the game of football. But I also took a lot of hits and hit a lot of people, a lot of blows to the head. And when I was tackling people and making tackles, doing football drills, all these different kinds of workouts, bull in the ring, all these things that we would do growing up, playing football from the age of 7 up to like 21. That was a third of my life at the time, or 2/3 of my life at the time, excuse me. That every time that I would play football, when I was younger, I used to get headaches and things, but I would feel better when I would like drink water and listen to good music, and it would kind of
Mm.
heal everything. But when I was hitting people, I would sometimes be able to experience sounds and colors on the field, and it wasn't painful. It was just very interesting to me.
Mm.
So I definitely feel like the constant movement and just being aware and communication and that being an athlete, mixed with being an artist with this kind of creative visualization ability, over time, it just developed into something that gave me a very unique perspective on everything in life.
Mhm.
And I started in my, after school and just into my maturity, as we grow into our 20s, we all mature, learn different things. And I just started to really appreciate every person and everything in my life more. They say stop and smell the flowers. I would literally be taking walks outside and stop and smell flowers and touch plants and just praise God for the oxygen and the clouds and the sun and what nature is.
Mhm.
And that gave me a much deeper appreciation for the art in everything, because I see art in everything.
Yeah.
So it's just a lot of different experiences that lead to this way of communication. But essentially, I just want to represent good vibes and good feelings
Mhm.
through music and paintings and colors. And when I make my paintings, I focus on using secondary colors as well as primary colors. But my favorite colors to use in my paintings are shades and tones of orange, green, and purple, which are only created by mixing other colors
Mhm.
together, other primary colors. And it's like a we not me kind of
Interesting.
way of looking at art. I like the
Mhm.
juxtaposition and the community, even with the choice of colors and the way I use materials together. So it all connects. It's all
Yeah, yeah.
connected.
And so on that you know sort of mapping, I don't know if you want to call it mapping, sort of you have music, you have sound, and you have color. Uh, how do you express that? Do you create paintings that reflect a piece of music, or what?
Yeah, so the paintings start differently every time,
Hmm.
but it's always with a sound that causes me to choose the colors.
Hmm.
I think of a sound, I feel a sound, I see a sound, I hear a sound,
Hmm.
and I'll either start playing a particular song or put on a loop. Sometimes I'll just start making my own music and make a loop and then let that guide physical and digital paintings and just feel that for a while. Then I may come back over to the laptop and add some stuff to the song or switch it up, add another beat onto the end of it from before and see how that sounds, and then go back to painting. So it's a very collaborative process between the two mediums. They work together, but there also are times when I can do drawings and paintings in silence, or I'll do drawings with my eyes closed, line drawings.
Hmm.
And when I do that, I'm literally just feeling what's around me. So, for example, I have my windows closed, but I'm in New York City, so I can still hear the traffic outside, and it's beautiful. I love it. And I hear trucks going by, and it feels to me like there are kind of sprays, very soft sprays of navy blue and steel gray and light chrome just coming in this way onto the left side of my face. I can kind of feel the wave as it kind of reverberates through the city. And it sounds crazy or weird, but it's something that I've been observant of for a long time and just kind of living with. I almost feel like I'm an X-Men sometimes. And for me, I've been working really hard to figure out how to communicate this to people. How do I get what's inside of me out? So what
Hmm.
I'm doing through visual art, through music, through fashion, making my own pieces, I'm experimenting with getting out these feelings and thoughts with the intention that they impact people in a positive, enlightening, uplifting, bright way more abundantly.
Yeah. Um, so again, um, the audience is starting to. I think they're starting to connect dots here, because one of the themes that we touch on quite a bit is the emergence of audio as a thing in itself. I think we talked about it in our conversation, you and I. Um, for example, right, AirPods, right, are becoming a lot more popular than before. Podcasts are becoming a lot more popular than before. There's massive growth of podcasting. these smart speakers, right? People are able to, do their thing. And if they want to find what the weather is, they just ask. They don't go to their smartphone. There is also, when you go to websites, right? Like New York Times, wherever, sometimes, and it's becoming more and more common, with the text, there is also an audio you can click and listen to, right? With articles. So audio is emerging as a thing, right? And so companies are starting to think seriously and put money behind this thinking of extending their brand presence beyond the visual, right? So, when you go to a website of a company that takes itself seriously and so forth, right? They have a color scheme, right? And all their marketing has a look and feel to it, right? But as audio is emerging, there's also they need to extend their brand beyond the visual to the audio, to the sonic, right? How does the brand sound? And that sound needs to mesh well with the visual, which comes to what you're saying is, how does one take a visual and a visual or a sound, vice versa, and convert one to the other. And so one specific thing that I think probably could help because of your talent in that sense is when you look at something, you might say, you know what, you guys sound like this, right? This is how your color scheme sounds like. So if
I do
it's
that
red,
all the time.
if it's red and black, right? Or if it's I don't know how the Starbucks look and feel, which is green and black and white and all, how would that sound? Anyway, so what do you think about this? Have you thought about the sonic branding and your
I like what you're saying, and I definitely have thought about it. So there's a reason that I use lime green, and I put these stickers everywhere, these
mm-hmm,
QR code stickers, right, in
mm-hmm,
public. They're all over the world, and they go to my website where you can listen to my music and see the merchandise and everything. But everything has this black and lime green feel. When I think you saw my original virtual background was a green Lamborghini.
mm,
Just the energy of Lambo Mach is a sound branding experiment. Okay, so I I first of all am very inspired by Ferruccio Lamborghini, and just real quick, he is an amazing designer, entrepreneur, and just great leader, who created Lamborghini and Lamborghini Trattori, which was a tractor factory before it was a car company of supercars, a builder of supercars. And Ferruccio Lamborghini created some wealth through many different entrepreneurial ventures and selling tractors. He wanted, he really loved cars and wanted to have he wanted to have a Ferrari because he felt like it was one of the best vehicles. So it sounds like there's one outside right now. They hear me talking about it. It's a law of attraction. So
interesting sound effects? You got
Ferruccio
buttons for
wanted,
sound effects?
yeah, right. I know, right? It's all, everything's perfect. We're aligned. We're connected. Okay,
That's
so
right.
Ferruccio wanted he wanted to drive the fastest and best car, so he got a Ferrari. When he was driving it, he found that there was an issue with the clutch. He took the issue to Enzo Ferrari, the creator of Ferrari. Enzo Ferrari told him, "What do you know about supercars? You're a tractor maker. You can never make a car like this or better or anything that drives anything near as well as a Ferrari." Ferruccio was challenged, and he set out to make the best supercar on earth.
Mhm.
And I think when you look at the Lamborghini design, the way a Lamborghini feels when you see it in real life, if you ever sat in one or driven one, it's remarkable, and it's
Mhm.
different than any other car, any other supercar, sports car to today, and it still is. I'm not saying it's hands down the best, although that's my biased opinion. That's arguably, people
Mhm.
could say whatever, but you cannot argue with when you see a Lamborghini pull up next to another car that there's no mistaking which one
Mhm.
is which. I've definitely seen Porsches and Ferraris, and not, from the side or
Mm.
the back, maybe
Mhm.
not, but with the Lambo, that's not happening. And I think
Mm.
that statement and that
Mm.
feeling, that has a sound to it. Okay. That energy has a sound to it. And when creating abstract house music and abstract hip hop music and putting it out, I felt like it sounded like a Lamborghini. It sounded
Mm.
like it needed to be played in a Lamborghini. It sounded like a Lamborghini driving and doing what it was built to do.
Well, tell me how would lime green, black, white mix sound? What's the how would you describe it?
Okay.
Now we're
I,
going to the third dimension, which is words.
yes.
Go ahead.
Well, I think that lime green will sound like fresh. It will sound like spearmint, like the flavor of spearmint, because that has an association of like crisp freshness, almost like toothpaste mixed with perfect health.
And
It
how would you
feels,
translate that to a sound? Would it be some percolation of water, or what would it be like? How would you express?
lime green to me is definitely synths. It's a synthesizer thing. I
Mm,
think the synths really float between the greens and the purples to me. That's where the synths really live, in that space realm. And then once we get to, our oranges and reds, that's when we get into our basses and our 808s and our
mm,
deeper kind of notes on this, the far end of the spectrum on the EQ scale. But on the high end, we have more, I would say green has more of uh, a mid to high feeling than a low end feeling
mhm,
to me. And it feels like the heart kind of opening up.
mhm.
That's the sound, in an energetic way. To me, the lime green is very inviting. It's an inviting color and energy.
Yeah,
That's
makes sense.
yeah,
Makes sense. Definitely makes sense. Yeah.
yeah, that's the feeling. That's the way it
Um.
feels. Now, if you want a sound reference for lime green,
Mhm,
I have a song for you.
mhm.
It's called Deep Above that I made. Deep Above by Lambo Mage. If you search that on any streaming platform, the song Deep Above, just listen to that and tell me what color that feels like.
And deep above by whom?
Lambo Mage. Lambo, M-A-C-H, 2 words. And that's Lambo because I'm
Yeah.
inspired by
Yeah.
everything Lamborghini and Ferruccio. And my last name is Machen. And I also used to watch Speed Racer. You got the Mach 5. There's a lot of just the speed, the way it's Mach is spelled, it looks like Mach. And people call me Machen all the time and just think it says Mach. So it's kind of like a play on words. And
Sure.
that's why if you search it on any of the streaming platforms, you'll see that I put the little long A symbol above the A.
Yep.
Because, I'm also educated and want to make sure that I can use whatever I have in the realm of grammar to
So this
help
is your
people.
creation, right? The sound that deep deep above is your creation, right?
What was that?
The is it a song deep above, or is it some music, or
Deep
yeah,
Above is a song that I made.
it's a song. Yeah,
Yes.
it's you made. Okay, this is your creation. All right,
It's the
wonderful.
sound of green.
It's the sound of green.
Yeah.
No, I
Lime,
think
lime green specifically.
lime green. Right, there
Yes.
are all shades of greens, and you're right that they
Yes.
convey all kinds of
Yeah.
different emotions. So it's interesting, very interesting. And so, just wanted to connect some dots here, right? So the world of sonic branding and what you do, I think they intersect definitely. So there may be some gigs there that you could get into,
That
like,
that was going to be my next point. Like
yeah,
you starting this conversation has now got me thinking perhaps I can be a consultant and use
absolutely.
this condition as a gift, as a superpower to help
Hmm.
other brands really convey sonically
Absolutely.
what they want to be saying, because it goes along with the colors and the branding and the website and whose voice we're hearing when we see videos produced by the company.
Yeah.
If we see any media from the leadership, the
Hmm.
sound quality of that is going to produce a certain type
Yep.
of feeling. The
Absolutely.
production
Yeah.
level is going to allow us to believe something about that brand.
Exactly. So if you have, you know, I think companies that do a good job at doing an advertisement on television, they mind very much the color scheme that they use across the board through the logo and through the website and so on and so forth. And so they and I've seen the ones who have done it well. and the ones who have not, the ones who are doing well, it feels to me, they create that consistency. See, it's not jarring when you look at the commercial or you look at an advertisement. There is that color scheme there. Now, as we are moving to in a world where audio is becoming again more and more of an important channel for folks to engage, both for entertainment, wherever you may be, right? It used to be you have to be in your rural, in your house to listen to your stereo. Now you can listen anywhere, you know, and not only listen anywhere, but listen high quality, right? You're listening to high quality audio anywhere, listening to podcasts and so forth. So there are advertisements, right? Again, the companies who know how to do it well will want to extend their brand, their look and feel, and their color scheme, right, into something that somehow people just, it feels to them, yeah, this is actually, I don't know, Target, or this is, Starbucks, or this is actually, whatever it may be,
Right. And I'm
instinctively.
thinking, as you say that, Ahmed, should there be sound designers in the room with the visual branding team? When companies are building these brand identities, should there be more collaboration on the
Absolutely.
creative side,
Yeah.
bringing in different types of artists, visual artists even?
And
Yeah.
it's emerging. There are folks who have been making a living at at Sonic logos, Sonic branding, and so forth. But it's just a tiny minority of companies who are doing that, right? But now, as audio is becoming a thing that everybody's is using everywhere, people listen to Spotify all the time and so forth. It'd be foolish of you not to start extending your brand so that it has a thought through sonic dimension, so to speak. As hopefully people will see that makes a lot of sense to branch out of your bubble, so you can see how you can find out things like this. I didn't know about what was the condition you mentioned, because I'm going to dig deep into it.
Yes. Synesthesia.
Synesthesia. Yeah.
Synesthesia. Seeing colors, seeing sounds, hearing colors.
Hearing colors.